The French Top 16 Club Championship 2025 a pool round 5 witnesses a strategic semislov defense as Adhiban faces Kobalia. On d4. On d5. On c4. Threatening pawn takes d5. On c6. Knight f3. Knight f6. Knight c3 leads us into semislov defense. On e6. On g3. On takes c4. Bishop g2. On b5. On e4. Bishop b7. On e5. Threatening pawn takes f6. Knight d5 played by Kobalia. Knight g5. On h6. Threatening pawn takes g5. Queen h5 played by Adhiban. Threatening queen takes f7 mate. On g6 played by Kobalia. Threatening pawn takes h5. Queen h3 played by Adhiban. Bishop e7. Kobalia considers playing. Bishop takes g5. Bishop takes g5. Queen takes g5 and establish a winning position. Knight ce4 played by Adhiban. Knight d7. King castled kingside. Think carefully what is the best move for Kobalia. King f8 is the correct move because Knight d6. Bishop takes d6. On takes d6. Knight 7 f6. Bishop takes d5. On takes d5. Kobalia have small advantage. Let's analyze the main line. Kobalia considers playing. Queen b6. King castled kingside. Queen takes d4 and take decisive advantage. King castled kingside played by Adhiban. Queen b6 is not the best move played by Kobalia. Threatening queen takes d4. Rook e1 played by Adhiban. Adhiban intends to play. Knight d6 check. Bishop takes d6. On takes d6. Queen takes d4. Knight takes f7. King castled kingside. Knight takes h6 check and dominate the board. Queen takes d4 played by Kobalia. Knight f3 it is novelty move. Threatening knight takes d4. Queen b6 played by Kobalia. Bishop g5. On c5. Knight d6 check. Bishop takes d6. On takes d6. Queen takes d6. Rook a d1. King f8. Bishop takes h6 check. King g8. Queen h4. Rook e8. Queen g5. Take a moment to spot the best move for Kobalia. Queen e7 is the correct move because Queen d2. Bishop c6. Knight h4. Rook h7. On a3. Queen d8. Kobalia heading towards winning. Shifting to the main variation. Queen g5. On e5 is not the best move played by Kobalia. Knight h4. Adhiban intends to play. Bishop takes d5. Bishop takes d5. Rook takes d5 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight 7 b6 played by Kobalia. Queen c1. Queen e6. Knight f3. Threatening rook takes e5. On f6 played by Kobalia. Knight h4. Think carefully what is the best move for Kobalia. On g5 is the right idea because bishop takes g5. Pawn takes g5. Queen takes g5 check. King f7. Bishop e4. Rook eg8. Kobalia heading towards winning. Let's go to the main variation. Knight h4. Queen f7 is not the best move played by Kobalia. Bishop e4. Threatening bishop takes g6. Knight f4 played by Kobalia. Bishop takes f4. Bishop takes e4. Rook takes e4. Pawn takes f4. Rook takes e8 check. Queen takes e8. Queen takes f4. King g7. Queen c7 check. Queen f7. Threatening queen takes c7. Queen takes c5 played by Adhiban. Rook h5. Threatening rook takes c5. Queen a3 played by Adhiban. Rook d5. Threatening rook takes d1 check. Rook e1 played by Adhiban. Adhiban is preparing to play. Rook e7. Knight c8. Rook takes f7 check, and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight c8 played by Kobalia. Knight g2. Rook d7. Pawn h4. Adhiban considers playing. Queen c5. Knight d6. Pawn h5. Knight f5. Pawn takes g6, and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight d6 played by Kobalia. Pawn h5. Time to think. Find the best continuation for Kobalia. Pawn takes h5 is a strong choice, since Knight f4. Rook e7. Rook d1. Knight e4. Knight takes h5 check. King h6 position is equal. Let's explore the main variation. On h5. Adhiban's idea is to play. Pawn takes g6. King takes g6. Knight f4 check. King g7. Queen f3. Pawn f5. Knight e6 check. King g8. Queen a8 check, and take decisive advantage. Knight f5 is not the best move played by Kobalia. Pawn takes g6. Queen takes g6. Knight f4. Threatening knight takes g6. Queen f7 played by Kobalia. Queen c5. Threatening queen takes f5. Rook e7 played by Kobalia. Threatening rook takes e1 check. Rook takes e7 played by Adhiban. Knight takes e7. Queen takes b5. Pawn c3. Pawn takes c3. Queen takes a2. Pawn c4. Queen a1 check. King g2. Queen e5. Take a moment to spot the best move for Adhiban. Queen e8 is a strong choice, since Queen e4 check. King h2. Queen e1. On f3. On f5. King g2. Adhiban heading towards winning. Let's go to the main variation. Queen e5. Queen takes e5. Slightly worse move played by Adhiban. On takes e5. Knight d3. Threatening knight takes e5. On e4 played by Kobalia. Threatening pawn takes d3. Knight c5 played by Adhiban. King f6. Knight takes e4 check. King e5. Threatening king takes e4. Knight c3 played by Adhiban. On a5. Knight b5. King e4. On f4. King d3. Knight a3. King c3. On g4. Time to think. Find the best continuation for Kobalia. Pawn a4 is a strong choice, since on f5. King b4. On c5. King takes c5. King f3. King b4 position is equal. Shifting to the main variation. On g4. King b3 could lead to immediate trouble. Played by Kobalia. Threatening king takes a3. On f5 played by Adhiban. King b4. On f6. Threatening pawn takes e7. Knight g6 played by Kobalia. King f3. On a4. Knight b1. King takes c4. King e4. King b3. Time to think. Find the best continuation for Adhiban. On f7 is best move here, because King b2. King f5. Knight f8. Knight d2. King c3. On g5 Adhiban have small advantage. Shifting to the main game. King b3. King d4. Stop here and find the strongest move for Kobalia. King c2 is the right idea because Knight a3 check. King b3. Knight c4. Knight h8. On g5. King b4 position is equal. Let's proceed to the main variation. King d4 is a major oversight. Played by Adhiban. Knight f8 turns the tide in the opponent's favor. Played by Kobalia. On f7. Knight e6 check. King d5. Threatening king takes e6. Knight f8 played by Kobalia. Knight d2 check. King c3. Knight c4. King b4. On g5. Adhiban is preparing to play. Knight e5. Knight h7. On g6. Knight f6 check. King e6. Knight h5. On promotes to queen at f8 check, and sees the initiative. King b3 played by Kobalia. King d4. King b4. King d5. Adhiban wants to play. Knight e5. Knight h7. On g6. Knight f6 check. King e6. Knight h5. On promotes to queen at f8 check, and secure a stronghold in the game. King b3 played by Kobalia. King c5. King c3. Knight a3. Adhiban might go for king d6, king b4, king e7, knight g6 check, king f6, knight f8, pawn g6, knight takes g6, king takes g6, and secure a strong hold in the game. King b3 played by Kobalia. Knight b5. Knight g6. Do not rush. Can you find the strongest move for Adhiban? King d5 is logical continuation as king b4, knight d4, king c3, king e4, knight f8, king f5. Adhiban have small advantage shifting to the main game. Knight g6. Knight d4 check creates serious weaknesses in the position. Played by Adhiban. King b2. Knight b5. Time to think. Find the best continuation for Kobalia. Knight e5 is a strong choice, since pawn promotes to knight at f8. Pawn a3. Knight takes a3. King takes a3. Knight e6. Knight g6 position is equal shifting to the main variation. Knight b5. King b3 turns the tide in the opponent's favor. Played by Kobalia. King d5. King b4. Knight d4. King c3. King e4. Knight f8. King f5. Kobalia had no choice but to throw in the towel.